Hi everyone, this is Jackie from the Pod Canberra. I am here to talk to you today about investor tips and tricks. So we are a granny flat and secondary residence company in the ACT, and we build in the ACT and surrounds. And I'm here with any questions about, the rules, regulations, the tips and tricks. So today, being the investors tips and tricks, what I've asked to talk to you about is really what to get it approved as, setting it up with separate meters, also fully furnishing to maximize rental capacity, and also some rental incomes that people from our particular developments have been receiving. So we'll jump in. So in order to get it approved, you'll have to go either through council or through a certifier, or potentially both. So if it's classed as a secondary residence, it has different kind of rules and regulations to what the building really has to consist of than it does a garage or a shed. And if it's classed as a garage or a shed, then you technically can't rent it out and you can't live in it. You could really Airbnb it like a room, but it's not meant to be a livable structure. So a livable structure ultimately is an extension or a sleep out. So there's a couple of different ways of how you can get a granny flat or secondary residence approved. And obviously the primary way and the most efficient way, especially for an investor, to get it approved as a secondary residence. It does mean you need to comply with all of the rules and regulations in your city and with your council. So in ACT, we have to comply with all of the disability rules and regulations for aging in place, which means that you have to have, it has to be a certain size, have to have certain distances, like around beds, in bathrooms, around the living area. There is lots of different rules that you need to comply to, but it also means that you can have it separately metered with electricity. ACT, unfortunately, don't let you do it with gas and separately meter gas, but I think gas is kind of phasing out in a lot of people's minds these days anyway. And with electrical meters, you can put solar on in future, and that definitely is a benefit. But also you can put water dials on the pod, on your secondary residence, and it also helps to gauge an understanding of what the main residence has used and then what the secondary residence has used, so that actually being approved as a secondary residence, your agent, and it can be rented out 100% legit with an agent, and you can rent out both properties, but then that means the agent can then sort out the electricity bills and the water bills based upon the usage. So it becomes very handy if, for investors, if you want to rent it out, and especially if you're renting out both potential investments on the one block. A secondary residence is definitely the way I'd recommend to get it approved as. All right, the next section, we kind of touched on it just a moment ago with separate electrical meters, separate water dials, separate entrances, and separate parking. So as a secondary residence, you need to provide 3 car spaces. So it's actually 2 for the main residence that's already there, 1 which has to be undercover, and the third needs to be 3.8 meters wide, so that you can park there with, let's say, a particular vehicle that will allow a wheelchair to get in and out of it or off its roof. So it needs to be 3.8 wide is the space. It doesn't matter if it's undercover or not undercover, as long as there's enough space behind the building line. So you'll notice in ACT especially that it's 6 meters from the front boundary, and it's not from the verge, so it's from usually your water meter. Is 6 meters from there is the front of the building. You might be way further back, but the furthest that you can build is that 6 meters from that kind of water meter depth. You can have a look at this on ACMAPI, and it shows you exactly on your specific site what your building line is. So from that building line, it's really where that parking gets put, and it becomes very, very handy to have those 3 parking spaces. That's what you have to supply. And also for investors renting it out, you want to be able to have those separate access for parking and in entrances. Separate electrical meters, we definitely touched on that. So you can have 1 meter on your secondary residence and 1 meter on the main residence. It does come as 2 separate bills though. So even if you're not renting it out, even if it's for, you know, your mother-in-law or your kids, you will have to, if you put a separate meter on it, you do need to notify ACTU and you'll have 2 separate bills every quarter. Alrighty, so then we've got pretty much fully furnishing. So this is probably my personal thing because I have done this in my experience, is to maximize the rent that you can get from your investment property by fully furnishing it. Especially Airbnb. I had a construction company come through my rental property and they wanted everything done for them. They even wanted a cleaner, so you know, I organized that as well. But also even renting it out long term for certain people, I have found that they actually want pretty much everything there, and it's much easier when people are moving from not overseas but interstate to our city. It makes it handy for them not to have and purchase fridges, washing machine, dryers, lounges, TVs. Obviously they can choose what they want to keep and what you might take, but it definitely, you can increase the rent. In my case, it was about $50 to $60 a week by just having it fully furnished. Next kind of option and kind of last thing that we'll touch on is some of the rental incomes now that I'm starting to speak about money. Now this is in this current day, and this is in our experience. So whatever your experience it may be, it might be different. You're always better to go to an agent and get an appraisal. How much would this be per week? Please get an appraisal, and that also looks good for a bank if you are going to a bank asking for like an investment loan to build a secondary residence. That could be another whole podcast. But the rental incomes from a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, I've been told from a client that their financial advisor informed them that they're way better off doing a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom than a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, just purely for the rental market. So I'm not quite sure why or what. I mean, obviously, I guess you could have 2 separate people living in there that both have their bathrooms, or you know, families, it's nice to have the kids have a bathroom and the parents have a bathroom. Or, you know, even if you're a couple, sometimes it's nice to have the other person have their own bathroom. So a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, in our experience about 3 years ago, we built one in the Woden area, and that was renting out for about $550 a week. And that does have like separate car access, and it was really just a secondary residence. Again, we're on the high-end luxury kind of secondary residences. If you're going to go a little bit lower than that, or different quality fixtures, fittings, internal fit out, things like that, then it would potentially most likely be a bit less. Or if you could go on the other end and go super high end, you know, that also is relevant. Then we've got in the city, we built something close to the CBD, and you're looking at anywhere between $650 and $700 a week, which was also a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and that was rented out about a year and a bit ago. At this current time in this market, what is it, the 20th of August 2021, it is a crazy time where lots of people were renovating, or with COVID they're renovating, but more the rental market and the property market has just gone bonkers here, and it has just caused the rental market and the prices just to go up. So obviously those people locked in a good price back then, but I wouldn't even want to imagine or guess what people are paying for like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment per week for rentals. Alrighty, well that gives you a good idea of what we're doing here at the pod, and then also just hopefully it gives you some insight to being an investor, what to do. It's definitely good to ask for financial advice, ask your lawyer for legal advice. There's also different like rates involved, and there's a plethora of information to learn. I just wanted to touch base. We're not financial advisors and we're not legal advisors or accountants, so best to get the right people who are experienced in that, but we'll definitely offer our experience where we can, because you know, I'm like that. I just want to try to help. So even if I can't help you, or you don't want our product, that's fine. I'm happy to help you with whatever complication, question, issue that you have, and that's just who I am, really. Anyway, all the best. We're currently in lockdown, so there's not much we can get out and do, so I hope you're using this experience to learn and educate and plan for future. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you're doing well, and thanks for listening.